and hopefully on YouTube this time. Well, we're 11 minutes late, which is on par. I think that's par this time.
The sad reality is what it is.
In my defense, though, it was just a lot of technical support issues. So, yep, we're live on YouTube because YouTube just emailed me and told me that we're live.
Yeah, look at that.
In case I didn't know. Just in case, you know.
There we go.
So, yeah, so a thrilling start as usual.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So just for fun, we're going to cover Tobias Thyssen. So that's the Manitoba pastor who... I gotta stay off my desk. I'm shaking everything.
Good job.
Thank you. I try. That's the Manitoba pastor who has a warrant for his arrest and refuses to come in. Now, I know that's not Nova Scotia news, but it's just been fun to cover. Tobias has told the police that on social media that he's not coming in, and if they want him, they'll have to catch him. But he's been preaching every Sunday. So as of today, he's been on the run for 15 days.
That's a while.
Right? But he's going to church and preaching every Sunday.
Yep.
Preaching every Sunday. And, you know, they haven't stopped him yet. This week, was it this week the police went to his house?
I think so. I didn't see the clip. Just somebody told me about it today.
I saw the clip. So what happened is the police went to his house. We don't have it queued up. But the police went to his house and actually texted him from outside his house saying, look outside. So, yeah. But he wasn't at his house. But yeah, they were harassing him at home or trying to. There was some sort of another person there, whether it was a Manitoba Health Services or we're not sure, who was in a more personal vehicle parked out there. And when they drove away, they actually gave a finger to the neighbor who was recording.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can even see it in the window.
I did not hear about.
Yeah. Professional as always.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But yeah, Tobias has said if they want to arrest him, they'll have to come inside the church to do it.
Yep.
So we'll have to wait and see. Tomorrow's another Sunday.
And I think it's perfect. Like, he's going to make them arrest him at the pulpit if he can do it. Let's get right. Like, he's just bringing it right down to what the issue is. You're going to arrest a preacher while he's preaching. Go ahead and do it. And I think I would agree with him.
Yeah, no. And I don't know. It just makes me smile. It makes me laugh that he's doing that. So. Yeah. Now, speaking, let's see.
Okay.
We're gonna share a video here.
Yeah, having my mouse go to two different computers, I can't find my mouse half the time right now.
All right, so this is from May 15th, the rally. See if anybody remembers this one. Run.
Yeah, it happens in Nova Scotia.
Right? So, unfortunately, we bring bad news. You know, it took almost a month, but the cops finally caught up to him. I'm not sure if he stopped running. I mean, the kids, obviously, he works out, you know. So maybe he just spent the whole time running, but
Must have.
they did finally catch up with him, and we understand he's been arrested for resisting arrest.
Yeah.
I don't know if he tried to run this time. I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
So yeah, unfortunate on that, but by the same token, I mean, the reason he ran, there's other videos you can find, and he wasn't even looking at the cop. So the cops are standing there talking to them, and he turns his head for a second, and the cop goes and grabs his hand. And just as reflex, he pulls his hand back.
Yeah.
And the cop kind of steps at him. So on reflex, he kind of just steps back. And then he just kind of panicked and ran.
Yeah, you can see in one of the videos that's out there, that's exactly what it looks like happened. And I've heard people who were actually there who said, like, that's kind of exactly what it was. The cops just went up to, like, random people on the hill that day and would just stand next to them for a minute and talk to them and then put their hand on them and say, oh, you're under arrest.
Yeah.
Like, it was weird.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, this week we had one post we posted on the briefings.
Yep.
And was it Wednesday's briefing?
Wednesday we didn't make a post on because absolutely nothing happened.
Yeah. So we
other
posted
than a bunch of really bad questions.
Yeah. So
yesterday really wasn't a whole lot better.
But we did have, I think it was Thursday night, we had a town hall with Ian Rankin.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so the town hall. So it was supposed to be a question and answer thing with Rankin. Dr. Barrett, who I don't even know where she's from. I think it's Ontario somewhere.
No, she's in Halifax.
No, she came here to help with our COVID response or whatever. And
can we send her back?
I would love to. Like, she's kind of creepy in all the video. Like, that whole town hall, she's so creepy.
It's just like that.
Like, yeah, no, it was weird. Really weirded me out. Crazy
eyes. It's like that crazy eye girl, the meme, you know.
Yeah.
You're gonna have me forever. That thing, like that's the vibe she gives off.
Oh. Which it's on full display in one of the clips we're going to show in a minute here.
And she's so patronizing.
Oh, goodness. So, but the whole, and then there was, I can't remember his name, but there was a guy there who was part of the restaurant community, or I don't even know.
Yeah, he was the head of the Nova Scotia Restaurant Association.
There we go. And he actually, I'll give to his credit, he actually did push back on Rankin live a little bit on the town hall. So that was actually really nice to see. But I kid you not, for the most of it, every time Rankin was asked a question, it was either a non-answer or, well, you know, I'm not really sure, but Strang said something like this. Dr. Barrett, would you like to answer that? Like, he had no idea what any of the answers were. When asked about, I think it was the 75% vaccine, he's like, well, you know, I don't really know. Strang kind of said we should, but I'm not really sure I'm qualified to answer this. He's basically openly admitting he's blindly doing whatever he's told. And he has no idea why. And it's just repeatedly on like the briefings in the town hall. And every time he opens his mouth, he's admitting he has no clue what any of the science is. He can't even answer a simple question, which I was answering it for him. You know, I knew the answer to the question and I knew exactly what Barrett was going to say. And in my head, I'm like, hey, look, I got it right. Because like I listen and pay attention. Apparently he can't even do that because she had to correct him.
Yeah. So we have a clip here, two separate clips stuck together. We're just going to play those and then we'll explain them a little bit. Here we go.
So, why is the Nova Scotia government consistently using higher targets? For example, we use 85% population vaccine versus other places that might use that threshold of 75% vaccination as our epidemiological guidance. Where is the evidence that Nova Scotia requires a higher threshold than what our national guidance has said is sufficient? And I see we have Dr. Baird back in here too.
Creepy.
Question.
Yeah, Dr. Barrett, do you want to take a stab at that? Dr. Strang has talked about this a lot. I think it has a lot to do with those that are under the age of 12 not being able to access the vaccine. So they're within that when you look at the whole population percentage. But I think I'll let the doctor give a better science-based answer.
No, I think that's an amazing start to that answer. And it has to go with the fact that the more humans, the more noses and respiratory tracts that aren't protected, the more likely it is that this virus will continue to spread at low levels. Spread of a virus at low levels is basically a breeding ground for new variants, and we don't want that. We want to protect our vaccines going forward by the prevention of new variants, and part of the way you do that is go for gold in your actual percentages.
If I have received both doses of my vaccine, do I still need to get tested regularly? Okay,
I would say, yeah, I think you should take that, Lisa. That's a tough one.
That's
as a
not a
layman for
tough
me.
question.
I know that the vaccine's not fully effective, but I would say they should. But I'll let you handle that.
Oh, this.
So I'm going to flip that around a little bit. I'm going to say,
Okay, can I just pause for a second? Point out. Yes. I'm just going to point out that she said, should we keep getting tested? And he said, that's a hard question.
Right.
Like, the more I see of this man, the less respect I have for him. Like, he just does not seem like a man who has much character. Right? He's a very, well, if this is the way things are going, I should go the way things are going. You know?
Yeah. And one thing that first that hold on, I don't know why I'm where's my mouse? Anyway. In the first one of the things she said closer to the end of the spiel. So if there's not enough people that are vaccinated, then you're going to have a low spread of COVID. That spread will create mutations. And we need to protect our vaccines, which is why we have so many people vaccinated. I mean, there's so many things you can point out on that. She's almost implying that at some point there will be too many vaccines there will be too many. Sorry, the echo on this is really messing with.
So let's finish this video.
Yeah.
We'll let this play, and while this is playing, I'm going to come upstairs and fix this for you. Okay.
vaccine is totally effective at what we want it to do. But what it's not is magic. And some people seem to want to make it into a magic wand. It ain't no magic wand. It does what it's biologically amazing at doing, which is preventing hospitalizations and deaths and reducing transmission a lot of the time. Guess what? Especially after we told you, with most of these vaccines, you need 2 doses. Your body needs 2 doses to go from like early childhood education to university educated and super effective after the 2nd dose. In between those doses, yep, you may still be able to get the infection and there is a chance you can spread it. We don't want this one spreading around, particularly this variant that's out there. So yes, keep going on the testing. You can decide to do it slightly less frequently, but the easy and most straightforward answer right now is once a week.
So.
All righty. So Let's see. Is your mic working better now?
Let me see. Yes. All right. So in the first bit of that video, one of the things she had said was that if we don't have enough people vaccinated, then there will be a low-lying spread of COVID throughout the communities, and through that spread, there will be more variants and mutations and all that, and we can't have that because we need to protect the vaccines. So, I mean, just that on its own, my thought is, okay, so we've already had mutations and variants, and we're still using the same vaccine. So at what point does this not work? And two, what is she implying exactly about the vaccines? Like, will these keep working? Will they? My Facebook isn't loading comments like quickly anymore. It was doing that the other
That's
day too.
okay. We're doing okay.
And so, like, is she implying that they're at some point the vaccines aren't going to work? But no one's really given us a definitive on when that is, what that's going to look like. So, but then when you factor that and you relate it into what she said 30 minutes before, which was, yes, we need to keep getting tested even if you've been vaccinated, because in the creepiest way possible, the vaccine does exactly what it was designed to do, and it does it brilliantly, or whatever she said. And that is to stop hospitalizations and deaths, right? So all it's supposed to do, according to the doctor that I'm supposed to shut up and blindly listen to, all it's supposed to do is stop hospitalizations and deaths. And she explicitly said, yes, you need to keep getting tested. It's not magic. People think this is going to cure everything. You still need to get tested. Apparently, once you have 2 doses, it's like super smart and brilliant, college educated, and works super duper good. But the way it works is still to just lessen your symptoms.
And this is
But it's going to be our fault that we don't have the vaccine. Like, none of this makes any sense, and I'm really struggling to put the proper words to it.
The thing is they're not stupid. Well, in some ways they are. So,
well, I mean,
but they know, yeah, based on what kind of disease this is, we're probably going to have 3rd dose vaccines, annual re-ups, just like the flu vaccine. They already know this. I mean, the chief medical officer for the Yukon already came out and hinted at it. He didn't outright say it, but he did kind of accidentally hint at it. And it's like, yeah, we know. We've been saying it the whole time. But, we're crazy.
Well, in that other interview we're going to hear in a few minutes. Now, we can't play the whole thing, but I listened to the whole thing. It's about 21 minutes. And it's a doctor from Cape Breton, and the other 2 ladies are both lawyers. And two of them agreed, and one of them didn't. But 2 of them agreed that at what point does the state of emergency end? And they both agreed they don't see where this is going to end. And so these are 2 very educated people said that we're supposed to be listening to. So, like, we're not the only ones. And one of them even said, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I don't see where this is going to end.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we've just, today, just to say, is our first time where we're multi-streaming to Facebook and YouTube. And I'd like to say it was very nice to have a YouTube account, but we just talked about vaccines, so that's gone.
Yeah. Sorry.
Strike 2.
Oh, my land.
Already. All right. So let's do this one here. Information morning. Have a listen.
I would suggest that it's a benefit to many people like power. I've seen a number of, and I got to be careful of how I say this, but I think there's a number of people in power in the public health realm who are quite enjoying being in the limelight and quite enjoying actually having de facto rule over our province right now, and that's not easily given up. People don't give up power easily, historically.
Just before we...
All right. Did we catch that? So he said there are people... There we are. Why it always does that. There are people who would not want to give up this power easily in Halifax. People in public health who like this power that they've been given, and they wouldn't want to give it up easily.
And everybody knows exactly who he was talking about.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just answering something for
Yeah, your computer froze, and so I'm trying to like switch stuff around right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
It didn't like when I answered Devin. Okay. What's that? So fun too was Dr. Strang's response to that. So somebody pointed it out to him.
With your follow-up, Tim?
Yes.
Okay. Why is this so quiet?
Yeah, that one's really low.
There's the Nova Scotia Health.
Like, I can barely hear it.
Chris Milburn, who's head of ER in Sydney, who's been, he basically went on the radio yesterday and said that you're power hungry and misapplying your power, and the way I read it, he was encouraging people to get vaccinated. I wonder if you have any response to that.
I think he's had a strong response from the community in Cape Breton, and my only other thing would say he's trained as an emergency physician. I'm trained as a public health physician. I don't know if it's emergency medicine. We shouldn't try to practice public health medicine.
All right, so hard to hear, and that's a problem now we have to try to work on solving. Stop doing that. Share volume when you load screen.
Okay.
All right, wait a second.
Giant cat.
Devin is fixing things for us. I clicked share audio. Yeah, it is sharing the audio, Devin. It's just incredibly quiet. That's the issue we're having. Is like if I play this, if I play the video, it plays really quietly on my computer. But if I play it when I'm not streaming, it's a normal volume. So it's just an issue I have to solve on the back end. I think it's a setting somewheres. Who knows? So yeah. So what Strang basically said there was, well, he's trained as an ER physician, and I'm trained as a public health physician, and I'm not going to try to be a public health or an ER physician. He shouldn't try to be a public health physician.
Right.
But yeah, no, he totally got called out, and he's just trying to cover himself there. He was not happy there.
But I mean, like, it's a doctor. Like, it's another doctor, so why can't we listen to him? Like, the whole topic was about the vaccines and vaccine passports. They were talking about quite a bit. And, I mean, okay, so Dr. Milburn is not a public health doctor. Fine. But Dr. Strang isn't an immunologist. So what's the point?
And this is what gets me, is if you watch the videos, watch the briefings, which you do, and
unfortunately,
I don't.
They are painful.
And I don't get it. I mean, you don't have much patience, but you managed to make it through. I can't make it through that nonsense.
It gets a little loud in here sometimes.
But this is the thing, like, all the time you ask Dr. Strang, well, what's your opinion on this? Or what are we going to do in this? Well, I'm waiting for Public Health Canada to tell me, or sorry, I'm
Nessie.
waiting for Nessie, like just
And he stutters really hard if he doesn't have any answer. So if he has an answer, he can pop it out like nothing, like he did with Milburn. He knew exactly what to say to that because he knew the problem, he understood the problem, he was emotionally connected to the problem.
Yep.
Okay, it's kind of how this works. But if a reporter asks him a question and he doesn't have an answer, he's gonna like I don't have that right now, but
like when they asked him if he was going to take the AstraZeneca vaccine, he's like, well, there's other people who can take the vaccine, and I don't go out very much, so I'll probably let them jump in line. And
he stutters. Like the more he stutters, the more disconnected he is from the problem completely. And everyone's like, oh, don't make fun of him, he has a stutter. Okay, my grandfather had a stutter. All right, and I'm fully aware of how stutters work. And my grandfather was a preacher. And when he got up and he preached or he sang a hymn, he didn't have one bit of a stutter. None. Because he was emotionally connected. It engaged his brain in a different way. But every other time, I mean, that man couldn't get one full sentence out. No. Like, it was a pretty significant stutter. All right. So like, I'm not making fun of somebody with a stutter. I'm making fun of somebody who cannot think on his feet. Because my grandpa could not read anything written on paper without stuttering either. Strang can. It's like, no, Strang does not have a stutter. He can't think on his feet.
Yep. And, well, yeah. And then you've got Rankin who can't think for himself.
Oh.
Not at all. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so that was fun. Now, this one here, I don't have a screen share for it, but this was less than fun. This is Ottawa Public Health we're going to cover for a second. Ottawa Public Health, that's not, I'm going to read it here. So, Ottawa Public Health tweeted 2 days ago about the residential schools children who were found, the 215 school children, and the 4 people who were killed in London, Ontario.
Yeah.
And they're saying, you know, yes, racism occurs in Canada, and if you deny its existence, you're condoning it. I don't deny the existence of racism. Never has. But systemic racism?
Yeah.
That's a harder sell.
Yeah.
You know, show me the system. Show me the system that's keeping people down. Show me what the solution is, and we'll fix it. We're going to come back to that in just a second. And we're going to talk about systemic racism in Halifax, what it looks like, because I got something on that. So anyways, they said, you know, don't call it the China virus or the India variant, because it's talking about those people brought into the country, you know, blah, blah, blah. Here's what we have that was really fun. You'll see, this is a quote, you'll see the tentacles of white supremacy weaving their way through the COVID is a hoax. This is just a flu crowd. And yes, the, quote, see more replies section of this thread will inevitably be full of them, each one saying why their often racist remarks aren't racist. Yeah. And, you know, if you've never feared that you might be a target of a racist attack, check your privilege.
Okay.
Racism is a barrier to mental health, and it's an actual health disorder. Some people have written in complaints, and the email back they got was basically an explanation of how the World Health Organization and Ottawa Public Health believe that racism is a health concern. Okay. It's a health issue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're being racially discriminated against, it's going to affect your health negatively. And here's the thing. That's true. And this is the issue. Like, I don't disagree. Real racism is going to negatively impact you. And if it's there, we need to deal with it 100%. You show me the issue and I'm right there on board with you to deal with it.
Generally, they don't have an issue to point to.
Yeah. So here's where we're going to come back to Nova Scotia. We're going to talk about systemic racism in Nova Scotia. Tim Busquet and Halifax Examiner. I love Tim.
Well, I mean, he's either got a really great question or a really terrible one.
The thing I like about Tim, I disagree with him on almost every ideological front there is possible to have. But I respect that he's a reporter who is willing to dig for the truth, or at least he's willing to ask questions that will make politicians uncomfortable, even if they're on his side. A lot of these other reporters, the questions they ask are fluff. Complete fluff, because they don't have a real question.
No, they're terrible. The questions they ask are just, and a lot of times I'm going to piggyback off my colleague here and ask the exact same question in a slightly different way, and you're going to give me the same crap answer, which is a non-answer anyway.
Right. So here in Nova Scotia, there was an incident. A police van pulled up alongside a black woman in a hat who was driving a white, I think it was a Dodge Avenger or something like that. Right, a car, larger car. And the cop pulled up beside her, looked over at her, and then a few seconds later, she was surrounded by cops, lights on, like 5 or 6 cars. They pulled her over, they dragged her out of the car, they arrested her. Because they were looking for a white Toyota in that area that they'd just been involved in a car chase. Okay? The driver was described, they say, as a white man in a ball cap. Now, I really struggle to see, and this is what happened next. You know, they arrested her. They realized it's the wrong person. They unarrested her. They actually said that, apparently. And then they let her go. She went downtown to file a complaint. And she said she got no real help at the police station to file a complaint. And she's saying it's all systemic racism. They did it because she's black. I really struggle to see it. Because it seems to me like in the midst of a high adrenaline vehicle pursuit,
which we don't really have in Nova Scotia to speak of,
the police saw a vehicle that was similar to the description in the right area, didn't see another vehicle, and went, maybe this is the one. They pull her out, and it's like within 30 seconds, like, oh, shoot, we got the wrong one. Sorry. And part of the offense the woman took was that they said, we unarrest you. It's like, okay. Best choice of words? No. It was an awkward joke. Cops are people too. Like, I mean, I have my problems with the cops because of what they're doing now, but how is that racist? I mean, if somebody wants to tell me how that's racist, I'd love to hear it. I read the whole article, and mistaken identity? I mean, if it was...
Didn't that just happen?
It happened... I think it actually happened last summer.
Okay. But I mean, so that's even more then. I mean, think about what they just went through in April of last year. You know, and so we had one of the biggest shooting sprees in Canadian history in little rural Nova Scotia. Our police had no idea what to do with that. And then a few months later is when you're saying this happened. It's like, okay, yeah, and it happens. It's not like they took her down to the station and booked her and threw her in a cell and like, no, it took them a few seconds and it's like, oh, hey, you're not a dude.
Right.
Sorry about that.
And this is the thing, like, I think the perspective they're taking is, Okay, well, when they arrested me as this lady, they must have just assumed that they had the wrong description. And
If I could comment on here, that'd be great.
if they, like I said, the only way I could see it being considered racism is if they went and knew it was supposed to be a white dude and then saw a black person and said, probably.
Yeah,
It's
like racism is
that's a
intentional.
stretch,
It's intentional, right? You cannot accidentally be a racist. That's not how this ever works.
Also, Devin, don't let me interrupt you. I'm sorry. I interrupt myself. It's not going to happen.
Really does.
No, I am terrible for this. I don't have a train of thought. I have a Roomba of thought. It goes in a straight line and then it hits a wall and it goes off in a random direction.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Especially when he's doing Bible time with the kids.
Well, that's why, a 2-minute Bible time always becomes, a 20-minute theological discussion of, we start off with one thing and we're into like 17 different types of theology by the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's really funny. Well, I think it's funny. The kids don't usually.
I don't care. You're getting educated.
Exactly.
You're welcome. But yeah, so like I say, I don't see it there.
No.
I just don't see it there where it could be that. I mean, there was another case recently where a guy was fined for jaywalking. Now, I think the cops were definitely a little vindictive. So what happened is he jaywalked from his office to the coffee shop. What did you do?
Nothing. We're good.
So he jaywalked from his office to the coffee shop. He had a few white friends who had gone on like a minute before him. Cops stopped him at the door and told him, he shouldn't be jaywalking. And he's like, well, what about my friends? I'm like, well, we just came around the corner. We didn't see them. Anyways, and he argued with them for a minute. Then he went and got his coffee, came out, missing a few details, and then he went back to work. And the cops come over to his job site or to his office, request that he come downstairs and give him a ticket in the lobby for jaywalking. It's like, just talk to the guy. If he wasn't listening, like, don't pull him out of his office like that. That wasn't cool. But making it about race is a really difficult thing. And he ended up he sued the police department, and I think he sued them for like $500,000 for like pain and suffering and all of this. They did award him some costs. I don't remember exactly what they were, but they did award him some money. And it's like, yeah, the cops were being vindictive and jerks at that point because there was no need to follow him back to his office. There was no need to issue a ticket for a first offense.
Yeah.
If it's clear that they saw the white guys go, if that can be proven, then we've got an issue. If they see 4 white guys cross and then see a black guy cross and they ticket the black guy, yeah, we have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something you'd have to prove.
Yeah.
And they were both new cops as well, new to the force. So yeah. Well, that was fun.
Yep.
It was a minorly slow news week. If anybody hasn't read it, you should really go on our website, thescribbler.news. A few weeks ago, we put out an article on kids in solitary confinement. And now that Now that school is back in session here in Nova Scotia,
Proverbially.
that article has become a lot more relevant. What's going on is the Nova Scotia government is recommending to parents that if your kid's class has a COVID outbreak, a case. Now, I don't know if they're doing it by class or by school. I think it's just class. They're recommending you have
Yeah.
all the kids individually isolate at home.
Yeah.
Stay in your room for the next 2 weeks. You can come
It's-
out to go to the bathroom. You can come
It's
out.
up to what is it? It's up to 14 days from the time of infection. So once one person in that classroom has the positive COVID test, it's once they identify all the close contacts and call them and everything, it's 10 days from the time that first positive come out. So the one that's linked to in the article was, I think they only had 10 days by the time they found out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have to be like in their room. And I mean, it's a whole video vlog done by a 14-year-old girl who had to do it.
Yeah, CBC put that out.
Yeah, CBC Kids, which is just a disgusting no.
Yeah, and they even she interviewed Dr. Strang, and she's talking about how, it was really hard. She was only allowed to go downstairs and use the gym once for an hour a day or go to the bathroom. Luckily, I think she even said she had her own bathroom, didn't she?
No, so what it was she could go out and use the bathroom, but she had to wear a mask in her own house to go to the bathroom. She could go outside for 1 hour of activity a day with a mask. She had to get tested 3 times. She had to eat all of her meals in her room alone. And they had a home gym, so as long as nobody was using it, she could go down and use the home gym.
Yeah, and if the weather was good, she could play in the yard for a little bit as long as she stood away from everybody.
Yeah, no, that was only like up to 1 hour a day.
Yeah, so she was only allowed out of her room for 2 hours a day total.
Yeah.
Other than bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
Which is not hard to do if you're coming from an affluent family and you have
right. You want to talk
gym
about
in the basement. Yeah. But this is the issue, is that's not what's happening.
No.
What's happening is it's younger kids who are being locked into their rooms. It's sometimes being locked by parents. I mean, this is the issue. They already went through this in Peel, right? There was a lady who actually locked her kid in his room. He was like 8 years old. He had the younger son was crying and screaming to get in while the older son was crying and screaming to get out. And she's sharing this on Twitter of how hard it is to be a good parent right now and doing the right thing. And I just want to hug him, but I know this is for the best. And it's like, no. And that's a good case. That's still a good case. A bad case is the parent that's going, fine, if I got to have the kid, at least I get to lock them up.
Or no, the parent who's already abusive, who's mad that now they have to do all this extra work with this kid. It's like, yeah, how much you want to bet that one's not getting all their meals? They're not allowed to out for the bathroom. I mean, no, that's going to be the more prevalent case in Nova Scotia, especially some parts of Nova Scotia. And it's sick, and I cannot believe this is what they're doing. And it's right on the infographic that Nova Scotia Health put out there's 2 different options. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's lucky I don't live anywhere near Peel, Ontario. So there's 2 options for if you have kids. Option 1 is recommended for older children, and they can stay home alone, and it should be fine to just, lock them up for 2 weeks. Option 2 is more suited to younger kids. Nowhere in there does it say you have to care for them at all times. It just says you can have one designated caregiver that's encouraging them to stay isolated, but you're doing your best to be at a distance from them. Like, could you imagine doing that to a little? No, we're not going to, because we're not monsters.
So what do you do?
But when you look through the actual legal mandates, it's not in there to do that at all. There's actually nothing in that the health Health Protection Act order, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing in there saying that you ever have to isolate anybody in a room on their own. Anybody in Nova Scotia. It's not there.
No, it's not there in the law. It's just there in the guidelines.
But they're making people feel like it's law, and it's not.
Exactly, and that's a big part of the issue we run into. So I'll cover one more thing, and then I actually have a point on that. We'll talk about people trying to get into the province. You remember?
Yep.
So the other issue you run into, though, with this whole isolated home thing is, what about the kids who don't have a bedroom to themselves?
One of the kids,
or a laptop or something. Like, I'm sorry, like if they don't have a laptop that the kid can at least watch some TV on or do classes on, they're not going to have books for them.
No.
What do you do? It's an absolutely terrible thing. It's 100% state sanctioned child abuse.
It is. Especially when you consider that in prisons, they actually are required to give inmates in a solitary isolation unit, because solitary confinement got outlawed in Canada, just so you know. So solitary isolation unit, I think is what it is. They have to have up to 4 hours of meaningful human contact each day. And it's right in the federal laws. But we have Dr. Strang here recommending less for our kids, and it's not law. And I mean, this doesn't scare people, and I don't know how this isn't scaring them. I don't know how anybody is still praising this man. And I don't know how to get that out more.
Yeah, no, it's absolute insanity. I am definitely looking forward to when school is out. Not that our kids go to school. We homeschool them because no, I'm not in that mess. But yeah, that's the thing is I'm actually looking forward to when school's out, and it's so stupid because they need school so that they can actually have people to interact with, right? And yet, once they're out of school, they're not allowed to interact with people.
Yeah.
Because this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. They can go sit in a class in a 30 degree heat wave. They can go sit in a class with 30 other kids. No one's able to social distance. Most of our schools don't have proper ventilation. They all have a piece of wet cloth strapped to their face. That is perfectly acceptable. But a church cannot have an outdoor service so that the kids can interact and learn about God, which is by far more important than really crappy math.
Oh, you're just crazy.
I am.
I know.
I mean, I didn't graduate till 2017, so I'm obviously really dumb.
No. So, the other thing, people trying to get into the province. So that's a nice, confusing mishmash. So, the rules are fairly clear. You're allowed into the province as long as you meet certain requirements, unless the person who's doing your application doesn't like your application or doesn't know the requirements because they're changing all the time. Basically.
Oh, my land. Yeah.
So how many people, we know 2 people who can't get back to Nova Scotia now, personally?
The one I talked to I'm trying to think of who the other one was. I know there was another one.
Okay, so there was the person whose mom went to school with you, or same school.
Yeah, okay.
And the person who's going to stay with their kid.
Yeah.
And that's the only 2 I know of off the top of my head.
But I've heard of others, but they're the only 2 I think we know of personally.
But that's insane. We don't know that many people. I mean,
yeah.
we're not that outgoing.
No.
But we don't know that many people. And we personally know 2 people who can't get back in the province, who meet the requirements. There's one person, they want to come in, and they're going to live with their son.
Yeah.
And they said, cool, that's great. We need a copy of your lease. We're not leasing. We're going to be staying with our son. He's got some space and we're going to live with him. Okay. Well, we need it to be dated before March. What do we do? The lease.
Yep.
Right? Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third.
Oh.
And it's just absolute insanity that this has been a consistent theme. What's being said in Halifax on these live streams and what's being put out in the official documents doesn't match what the people on the ground end up doing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to apply the rules, so they just do what seems best to them.
Yeah. And what's funny is, so they're telling this person when they call, the government agency is telling this person, well, you have to have a lease signed before March. But if you look on the Health Protection Act order, it's May. They had to have a lease signed before May 1st, not March, May. These are two very different things for starters. So I'm not even sure where they're getting their information from, but the mistake is understandable because since Rankin's taken office, let me see, this Health Protection Act order has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 changes.
Yep.
Rankin has been in office since February 23rd. We have had 7 changes to the mandates, the legally, not just like the stuff in the briefings, but like the actual legal document has had 7 changes. And in each of those changes, there's multiple amendments and new sections.
Yeah, exactly. And even the government officials like Dr. Strang and Deputy Premier Rankin, they get it wrong sometimes too. There was a point there where they were telling us that drive-in services were only allowed for 10 people.
Well, they told us it was allowed for, you could have a drive-in church service, but then they changed the way the Nova Scotia website links to the reopening plan. And when they did that, it said 10 people, including drive-in services. So then they had to email a bunch of pastors and be like, nope, our bad. We're going to fix that. So then they had to fix it. And I mean, on top of that, sorry, this is an important note. One of the things he did say, Strang did say on yesterday in the briefing. So somebody asked, how come church services can have drive-in services, but we're not allowed to have drive-in grad ceremonies? He's actually suggesting that you drive past grad ceremonies. So somebody's like, why can't we?
Because it was safe for them to be in the building every single day, but not if they're not allowed. Nope, I can't even make a logical connection there.
His answer was even better than anything you're going to come up with. What his reasoning for not allowing drive-in graduations is because, well, we let you guys do that last year and you failed miserably, so we can't trust you. I kid you not. That's what he said. And it really wasn't much more. It was not much more tactful than how I just said it. It was pretty bad.
Oh, it's just, and it's so stupid. And people have been getting after Strang for this whole no graduation services. But I mean, this is the thing. You can have a drive-in church service, but the Valley Drive-In Theater cannot have drive-in bingo.
Right.
That's something that they use to raise money. They have drive-in bingo, where you literally stay in your car the whole time. You have to, because that's how you can hear it. Right? You can hear it over the radio. They have that FM transmitter system, but that's not safe.
No, it's not. Because science.
Because science.
And if you disagree, you're a racist.
Absolutely. Oh, you gotta laugh or you're gonna cry. It doesn't make any sense. They know it doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, Oz are great and powerful, but there's just, an old man pulling strings behind the
Yeah.
curtain. And that's not a conspiracy theory type. That's more like a Muppet Show type of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Muppet references for these two are like never ending and glorious.
Yeah. Yeah. With Strang and McNeil, it was
Waldorf and Statler.
Waldorf and Statler. And somebody actually put the little puppets there one time when they did a briefing. Because
no, it was a day they didn't have a briefing. Someone took the puppets and put them up on their desk and said there is no briefing today or something like that. It was actually kind of funny.
Yeah. Since then, so the first one I've seen was they put Strang as whichever one it is, Statler or Waldorf.
Baldwin.
And they put Elmo for Rankin.
Yeah.
But then after a while, they changed it to Beaker and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew.
Well, what's funny is somebody actually took one of like this little 30-second clip of the two of them saying something and dubbed Beaker and Dr. Bunsen like over like photoshopped their faces over top and then changed the voices to sound like them. So Rankin was saying something, but all anybody could hear was Beaker screaming.
But it was terrible. They did their own voice. There was a lot of swearing. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was really funny though. The Rankin Beaker thing. It was amazing.
No, that was a good one. So they can't get into the province, and restrictions don't make sense. Reasons, science.
Yeah.
All science. And you disagree with science.
Even if you're an ER doctor, you are not allowed to. You are no longer a scientist. You're not the right scientist.
See, this is the thing. Yeah, you're not the right kind of scientist.
Yeah.
I can't even anymore.
Did you know he would have never seen vaccine-related injuries come into an ER ever?
No, absolutely not. He has absolutely no idea what he's talking about, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
If you want to know how to properly be a chief public health officer for Nova Scotia, you should major in sports medicine.
Yes.
And then make sure that you don't see a patient for at least 20 years.
Yeah. So
that you're really connected to the day-to-day needs of Nova Scotians and healthcare.
Yeah. That's exactly
it. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this week. I want to thank everybody who watched and definitely ask you, if you haven't, to like the page or subscribe on YouTube. If you hear anything, that's one thing I wanted to cover real quick. Something non-COVID related, but Nova Scotia news. Hey, it's Keith. I went to school with Keith. Hi, Keith. So very recently up here in Fall River, we got a 1 a.m. wake-up call from the government.
Oh.
So there's an issue up here. Grand Lake is poisonous right now. Killed 2 dogs and put 1 person in hospital.
They killed a bunch of the fish too.
Oh yeah, it killed like all the Gasparilla. So, and they felt they needed to warn us at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I guess it makes sense because
it did.
If somebody gets up in the middle of the night and their water comes from the lake and they drink, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
But I mean, that was really hard trying to squint at a phone at 1 o'clock in the morning, half alive, with no glasses, in the dark, trying to figure out, can I have coffee when I get up? Where does my water come from?
Yeah, exactly. So just a quick update on that. So what they're thinking is it's a blue-green algae bloom caused by the heat. It's probably coming from Fish Lake, which is just north, I think, of Grand Lake. Fish Lake doesn't have a big water stream, so it lets the algae pool, and that's why the toxins would be coming from there. But there's a Halifax water treatment facility just to the north of that. And if you look at the effluents from the factory or from the treatment facility on a map on Google Earth, you can see green algae coming all the way down below the below the map for like, I don't know, a kilometer almost.
That's so
And
gross.
it's into the same system. So I would suggest that, yeah, probably what's going on is that I would wonder if that's making an impact. We should know more. Should know more next week. Environment Nova Scotia has gone and taken some samples, and they're gonna let us know what it is. So,
But they did at least tell us it's definitely toxic.
oh yeah, they put paper signs up telling us not to swim or drink the water or anything like that. What I really want to know is, can we take our kids to any of the other lakes?
Right? Like, how far-reaching is this?
Because we're connected to that water system. We have a lake near us that the kids
We were swimming that day.
Yeah, we were in that lake
Yeah,
that
that was
day.
that day we had them out swimming.
I don't think I died.
No, I mean, we still got them all.
Yeah, I didn't
I've
count.
done multiple head
recently,
counts
but-
since then.
Okay, I
But,
haven't.
like, it is
so-
really hard to count to 6, so I could be wrong.
Well, it's just because they keep moving.
Right? Number 2 is making faces at me.
Number 2 is always making faces. All right. So, anyways, that's what we're going to call it for the night. We'll be back next week with more riveting content like this.
Oh yeah, we're fascinating.
Absolutely. I'm the brains, and you're the beauty. Or I'm the beauty, and you're the brains. Maybe we'll go 50-50. I don't know. So anyways, like I say, if you could like or share the page, that'd be super helpful. We're trying to get, the word out to more Nova Scotians about the things that are actually going on. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also on Rumble, I think. Our website's thescribbler.news. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yep.